So I think that being single is chaotic. I think that it's more chaotic than it's ever been because of social media.
We chase the light in the wrong places in the form of instant gratification, whether it's drugs, alcohol, porn, just swiping right nonstop on the dating apps, like getting that quick hit of dopamine.
When you shut off from work for a second, your home is peaceful. That's very important. That's why the wrong partner can also hurt your success, because if you shut off from work and all you get is anger and screaming and fighting, that's not going to help you at all. You're always going to be in fight or flight, high cortisol mode.
It's the woman that is the foundation of financial abundance, because that is who is creating the environment that you're coming home to every day. Do you ever get FOMO at all? Like being in Miami and like you're in this amazing relationship. Do you ever get FOMO? Like, oh man, like maybe it would be fun to be single one night.
It's very easy to, in the moment, for example, like, oh yeah, for sure, it'd be fun to be single. Just remember what it's actually like to be single.
The grass is always greener.
The grass is always greener.
Scott, Clary, welcome to the pod, my dude.
I'm excited to be here. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
If the conversation is as fun as the conversation before, it's gonna be fire.
Yeah.
We got to bring all that to the people now.
Exactly. Well, my intention for having you on is obviously, you know, you've been building the Success Story podcast the last 6 years or so. It's blown up through just your dedication and commitment. And we were just talking before we started recording about relationships and how you've been in a committed partnership for 6 years. And I'm curious to know, number one, how has that contributed to more inner peace and more business success? And then I'd also like to discover, based on the conversations you've had with so many successful entrepreneurs, what have you seen in terms of commonalities with their level of relationship? And is there any alignment between being in a long-term committed relationship and business success? Is there an inverse relationship? It's something that I really want to explore more of, if you're open to it.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's one of the most important things to talk about, because I think it will actually be the predicator for success or failure. So I've been with Gina now for 6 years. I met in Toronto, moved down to Miami, and she has been, first of all, let's back up a little bit. Like, why did I start the podcast? I started the podcast because she was like a little bit of my muse. Like, she was my inspiration. So she actually built out a very large Instagram account called My Therapist Says with her two sisters. I have like 8.2 million followers. They built this business for like the past 11 years. So when we started dating, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Look at, like, I saw how successful their business was. And I'm like, I want to build something like that. I want to create content around things that I care about, and very different from very different kind of content. But the premise was the same, like build an audience, build a community around things that I care about. And the podcast for me made the most sense. Now, outside of being a muse and actually, you know, sort of planting the seed that led to the idea that is now the Success Story podcast and basically all of my content, her being in my life has been the most important factor in just having a house that's peaceful, that's conducive to pushing my own limits and feeling safe, like when I'm home. I think that this is such an underrated, having a partner. I think you'll see tweets that are a little bit maybe cliche about how important a partner is, but I think it's so true. A partner makes or breaks your success. Because if you are an entrepreneur, or even if you're a high-performing anyone, and you're going through life, and you're pushing boundaries, and you're trying to do things that you've never experienced or tried to do before, of course, you can do it alone, but there will be times when shit doesn't go right. And when it's stressful, and when you're going to get bad news, or things don't work, or, I mean, if anybody's built a business, a whole variety of bullshit happens every single day.
Exactly.
So the benefit of a partner is not only that if they're the right person for you, if they are sort of on board with the mission that you're on and you're aligned there, when you shut off from work for a second, your home is peaceful. That's very important. That's why the wrong partner can also hurt your success, because if you shut off from work and all you get is anger and screaming and fighting, that's not going to help you at all. You're always going to be in fight or flight, high cortisol mode, both in the arena and when you try and take a step back. But what that partner does, and what Gina does for me in particular, is whenever I get bad news and I'm stressed out, she helps me see the bigger picture. She helps me see that bad news isn't as bad as I think it is. And she helps me really just refocus all the good things that have happened over the past 6 years. And that alone, I think, is the most beneficial person in my life in terms of like my business success. Because business, yes, there's tactics, but the majority of success in building a business or even like pushing boundaries in a career. Say you want to be a C-suite, C-level of, Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 company. If you can't navigate the bullshit that comes with this and the stress and the anxiety, you're never going to be your best self.
Yeah.
And you're never going to perform. And yes, so business includes tactics for sure, but I think the majority of it is mindset, is to be able to stay in the game long enough. And I don't think that you can stay in the game long enough if you're always stressed and you're always anxious and your home isn't a calm, safe space. So long way of saying Gina's been instrumental in my success, and having a partner that supports what you're doing helps you navigate all those difficult parts of life and business. That's the biggest hack.
Yeah.
For sure, that's the biggest hack.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. One of my mentors who's created massive amounts of success and abundance, he said something that I never really thought of. Oftentimes we think like men were the providers. Physically, also financially, oftentimes men are expected to be the providers. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What he told me was like, actually, it's the woman that is the foundation of financial abundance, because that is who is creating the environment that you're coming home to every day.
Yes.
And if it is peaceful, if it is loving, you're just going to feel that next level of safety and support to go about and crush your mission every single day. If you're coming home to a chaotic environment that's just toxic, negative, that's going to obviously impact the way that you show up in every other area of life.
But it's an uphill battle already. So why would you want to make it harder than it has to be?
Yeah.
And you asked, is there like, when you look at patterns of success from all the people that I've interviewed, so I would say that if you don't have a partner, of course, you can still build an incredible company. But the most successful people that I've seen, when they were in build mode, when they were getting things off the ground, they had a better half that they could rely on and depend on. I'll give you two examples. Both of these people speak about this publicly, so I don't mind sharing. So the first example is Mark Randolph, who's the co-founder of Netflix. And he speaks all the time about how every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, and keep in mind he's building Netflix, this is not a small company, every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, it does not matter what is going on in the company, he shuts off, he turns off his phone, and he goes on date night with his wife. He did this religiously the entire time he was building Netflix. Think about all the fires that were going on in his life and all the stress and all the chaos and all the billions of dollars at stake. And this man religiously shut off at 5 o'clock and went on date night with his wife every single Tuesday. It was a non-negotiable. Mark's been on my show. Another example from a really good friend who's actually in Fort Lauderdale is Joseph Martin. And he built BoxyCharm. He had a $500 million exit. And he speaks all the time about, they're unfortunately not together anymore, but when he was building, he equates a lot of his success to his ex-wife and how supportive she was of every single decision he made and how she helped him navigate business relationships and people just in a way that he couldn't. It was just like a second set of eyes, a little bit extra due diligence, like just like a check on his ideas all the time. And if you speak to him about his success, I mean, $500 million exit's not bad. And he says that his ex-wife was instrumental in helping him do that. So, I mean, those are two great examples.
I feel like it's almost the same with when you look at the most successful athletes.
Yeah.
Whether it's LeBron, Kobe, Tom Brady, all of them, for the most part, seem to be in this long-term marriage that started early on in their career. And I imagine that helped them, number one, just feel more grounded, and number two, avoid the distraction of instant gratification.
Yeah.
Because especially living in a place like Miami, there's unlimited distractions.
Nonstop. I also think that, so I think that being single is chaotic. I think that it's more chaotic than it's ever been because of social media, because of listen, like everywhere you look, it's over sexualization. So I can only imagine if you're single, like how difficult it is to figure out who you want to end up with, because literally social media algorithms are meant to just deliver us the most ridiculous images of the most ridiculous people. And it messes with us. We stop focusing on the fundamentals of what a relationship should be. A relationship shouldn't be who's the hottest girl on Instagram. It should be who has the same values and the same belief system, and who challenges me to grow, and who can I contribute to their life as well. And I mean, we spoke a little bit about spirituality, and we can talk about that as well. But who wants to grow spiritually, mentally? What do we want for our kids? Like all the things that we should be thinking about when we get into a relationship, social media is hijacking our hormones so that we don't think about this shit.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine how chaotic and sometimes probably quite toxic it is to try and date. I have never dated in the era of like social media and OnlyFans, and it just seems like it's an absolute shit show, to be quite honest. Like it's an absolute mess. And I think it's even, I mean, things even worse in cities like Miami. Listen, I think that's why if you have a good head on your shoulders, you find the right partner, you focus on somebody that adds massive value to your life. One of the quotes that I think is great, it's an Alex Hormozy quote: you don't just date the person who you're with right now, you date the future version of that person as well. Paraphrasing, but that's the sentiment of the idea. So it's not just who's hot and fun right now, it's who's going to be a valuable partner for the rest of your life. And that creates, it just creates, I don't know, this beautiful home that, like to your point, is your foundation and you can operate from.
Yeah. That's really amazing though. It's honestly something that I desire, is like having a partner that's also building something out of passion.
Yeah.
And you get to just be each other's muse and inspire each other. And like when one is feeling down, it's like you get to just be that reminder for each other to keep going.
You're single, right?
Yeah, at the moment.
So everything I just described, you're living every single day.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like I see other guys in, I guess, similar positions to me, and like they're putting a lot of energy, like going on 2-3 dates a week. They're on all the apps. Mm-hmm. I haven't been on the dating apps in like probably 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I feel like Instagram's its own ecosystem that's challenging to navigate. Yes. But it is tough because it's like, I sometimes ask myself, I'm like, yo, I don't want to look back 10 years from now and be like, yo, man, like, did I actually allow myself to enjoy fully, being 33 in Miami? And it's also counteracting that with like, do I really want to put any energy into spending time with someone that I know is out of alignment, right? So it's kind of this dance. And I know that's why I'm always doing my best to expand my vessel and connect to my highest self, because when I'm operating as my highest self, I'm like, it's a very easy decision.
Yeah.
There's no second guessing.
Of course.
It's like a Tuesday night. Like, do I want to do this thing when I have to be up early the next day? It's like, no, I want to prioritize my rest. I want to prioritize my future. I want to prioritize my purpose. And, just doing my best to navigate that.
I think so. Listen, there's multiple types of single culture, right? Like some are probably not as toxic as others.
Yeah.
So if you are focused on your business or your life and you're going on dates every once in a while, and those dates, you go for dinner, but like you go for a run, go to the gym together, like it's like healthy, positive stuff. That's fine. I think that the most toxic version of single is you're going out every single weekend, you're getting drunk all the time, you're doing any kind of drugs under the sun, and you're just like, you're basically acting like a nonstop asshole.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, it's not just about the dating then. It's about all the other factors that version of single brings to your life that are not conducive to your health goals, to your mental health, to your physical health, to your business success. So again, I don't want people who are single to be like, wow, that's such a naive perspective. I'm just saying that if, people who are single go out more than people who are in a relationship. They're always looking for something. This is a fact.
Yeah, there's so much Well, I think just in general, right? There's this constant search for the light. Like in Kabbalah, we talk about there's the vessel and the light. We have to expand our soul, expand our vessel, so we have the capacity to receive as much light from the Creator as possible. And sometimes we chase the light in the wrong places in the form of instant gratification, whether it's drugs, alcohol, porn, just swiping right nonstop on the dating apps, like getting that quick hit of dopamine, even though you know it's depleting you. And it's that constant battle, I feel like, of just really staying aligned and connected. And
But that takes a lot of self-work, dude.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's
You do more self-work than most people that I know.
right.
Like you have adopted personal development across your mind, your body, your soul. Like this is what you do for a living,
Exactly.
and you still find it hard.
Yeah.
So can you imagine somebody who is not doing this for a living? Right? I mean, like in all seriousness, like the world is what I was alluding to before. Like the world we live in, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, it is set up to hijack our best interests.
Yeah.
So the beautiful relationship with somebody who you love that lasts your whole life, the commitment to working out and losing weight, and the commitment to finding your version of God or spirituality, and the commitment to building a business or being successful and building wealth. The world as we know it is not conducive to those goals.
Yeah.
So you have to pursue those goals on your own, and that's why it feels like there's always so much friction.
And what were you, I'm curious now, like, do you ever get FOMO at all? Like,
About what?
just like being in Miami and like, you're in this amazing relationship. Do you ever get FOMO? Like, oh man, like maybe it would be fun to be single one night. Like, does
No.
that ever cross your mind?
Not really. I don't think so. No. I've been single.
Yeah. So I want to know where you actually were,
I've been single before, and like honestly, it's so, because if you just remember, it's very easy to in the moment, for example, like, oh yeah, for sure it'd be fun to be single. Just remember what it's actually like to be single.
The grass is always greener.
The grass is always greener. This is another, man, I'm just going to keep dropping Alex and Layla Hermosi quotes just because they have some bangers. Layla Hermosi, her quote was, "The grass is always greener on the other side because it's fertilized with shit." Meaning that whatever grass you think is greener, there is shit over there too.
Of course.
There is shit over there too. And like I fell in love with Gina before we even met, because first of all, she's beautiful. Not to ever discount like how beautiful she is, but we match on so many different levels that aren't just physical.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I'm with her. And I've in my 34 years of living,
You're 34?
Yeah, I'm 34.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've never met anyone else where I've matched like that, where we just have like fun in each other's presence. That's a very rare feeling. So I do not want to be single, going out, getting drunk. I have horror stories from before I met her, like just absolutely horrible nights. I've been like drugged by a girl before. Like I've had really bad
In Toronto?
In Ottawa.
Okay.
I was born in Toronto, moved when I was 3, moved back to Toronto. Ottawa's the capital of Canada.
Yeah.
That's where all the government is. That's what my dad did. Worked for the government. Yeah, I have no interest in being single.
So what were you doing before the podcast? Because you grew up and your dad was part of the government. I feel like it could be very easy to just get indoctrinated
100%.
with certain beliefs and certain ideologies.
Yeah.
So obviously seeing Gina and seeing what she was creating when you were 28, 27, when you guys first met, helped you be inspired to pursue this path. Where were you at 6 or 7 years ago before the podcast?
So when I started the podcast, I was building a company. So I joined a co-founding team. I was CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, and I was building a software product.
Okay.
It was a software product for broadcasters. It was eventually acquired.
Okay.
And the podcast was basically my way of future-proofing my career. So I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, but I knew that this company was going to be acquired, and I knew that I'd have to build something from scratch. And I was just like, Chief revenue officer means you're focused on sales and marketing. So every single day I'm studying the best sales and marketing people in the world. And one of those people is Gary Vee. There's a couple others, but Gary Vee did a great job of building this massive community and then finding a way to launch Empathy Wines and an NFT project and then Vayner Sports and then all the other companies because he had this audience. So I'm like, I don't care what I do in the future, but I want to build an audience and I want to build a community. So if I start my own company, if I join another company, if I co-found a company, whatever, it doesn't matter. I have this built-in audience that already trusts me. And that was really that was it. That was the thesis for it. And I wanted to focus on content that I actually enjoyed, which was at the beginning, business, entrepreneurship. And I found that the content that I spoke about on the podcast, it started to follow my own journey. And what I mean by that is when I first started the podcast, I focused on the things that I was dealing with day to day, which is a lot of like business entrepreneur topics. But I also found that people who are high performing, who I consider myself to be, my co-founders, my peers, my friends, they also focus on a lot of other topics because a lot of other topics contribute to their success, like relationships, physical health, mental health, diet, energy, flow state, mental models. All these things are important for anybody that wants to be successful. It's not just the tactics. I would say the tactics are a commodity. And you can find the tactics to build a business, go raise money, go find your customers, go run a Facebook ad set and have positive ROAS. Whatever you want to do, you can find those tactics. The X factor is the mindset. And if you can stay in the game long enough and all the other and also having a stable home, having a good relationship, having mental health so you're not foggy, so you can think clearly, having physical health, so you can go through a whole day without feeling like a shit. Like these are all important things that a high performing business person needs to focus on.
Yeah.
That's why I opened up the podcast. But that was sort of the inception. My background's in B2B software. That's all, my whole life has been in B2B, business to business, sales, marketing, all that.
I find it very challenging sometimes to have deep friendships with people that aren't entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Because if you pursue a path of entrepreneurship, it requires you to do the inner work. It requires 100%. You to constantly be elevating yourself, elevating your mindset, elevating your energy, elevating your focus, elevating your values, your beliefs, like all of these things. And a lot of times, and it's nothing against someone working like a normal 9-to-5 job, because there's people that love their jobs and that is their purpose, but there's sometimes a stagnation. Like it doesn't bring out the best in you. Like the only way you're going to grow your business is if you grow yourself.
I agree fully. I think that's why if you speak to anybody who's built a big business, they will have opinions about everything we're talking about. Yeah. They'll have opinions about the latest diet. They'll have opinions about, pick a topic. They'll have opinions about it. Why? Because entrepreneurship is so hard. It is so hard that if you lack in one area of your life, it's not impossible, but the smartest know that it's just easier to upskill in that area too. It's easier to have a good relationship than to go drinking and having toxic relationships all the time if you're trying to build a business. Because it's easier to eat a good diet because you don't feel like shit. Then you don't crash at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. That's not conducive to building a good business if I can't even show up, because I need to be showing up all the time, right? At my peak, at my best. So I think that's why you speak to anybody who's built anything significant, they'll have opinions about this because they had to, or else it was very hard for them to be successful.
Are you ready to feel limitless in 2025? I'm talking limitless physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, financially. This is your sign to try out microdosing for 30 days. We have a very special opportunity for podcast listeners. You can get started for only $222. This includes the medicine being shipped to you, the highest quality, fair trade, organic, sustainably sourced microdoses in the world at your doorstep. And you also get access to live group coaching calls with me, our private community. This is your sign to take ownership of your life in 2025. If you're ready, hit the link in the description, and I can't wait to see you on the inside. Yeah. I'm wondering if, since the podcast has grown to where it is now, if there's a certain part of your identity that is like Scott Clary is the host of the Success Story podcast. And a lot of times, I just had my buddy here who's been in the NFL for 12 years. And
who do you have?
Jordan Poyer.
Oh,
He's
badass.
Yeah. So like a lot of times with athletes or successful entrepreneurs or artists, so much of their identity is attached to what they do, and their self-worth is attached to their title. And I'm curious to know if that has shown up for you since you've grown the podcast to where it is, like Scott Clary, the podcast host, when in reality, there's so many more layers to you.
Yeah. So I think when you first start building something, that identity shift is actually a superpower, because when you don't, I remember when I first started the podcast, for a long time, I had a hard time introducing myself as somebody who had a podcast because I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But I find that when I had that identity shift and the podcast was my identity, which is not a good thing, but at the beginning, I think it's important to do a small shift, because then you own it and you're all in on this thing. And I've always found that how you introduce yourself at parties is really what your priorities are. Introduce yourself to somebody new, like, what do I do for a living? Is it really a priority? That's how you introduce yourself. Now, there's a very short lifespan on that being a benefit, because when you start to succeed, you're going to have ups and downs. And if your identity is too wrapped into that thing, every time there's something that doesn't work out, you start to say, well, this is now you start to question your own self-worth, because your identity is so wrapped in this thing. And that's toxic. That's very toxic. Part of what I was mentioning when you first brought up Gina, and, is she a benefit to my life and my business, is that she helps me understand that my identity is not the podcast. So when something happens that's bad, doesn't work well, episode flopped, whatever, a million bad things can happen, and they always do. It's just the game we're playing. She's the one who helps me just gain perspective and understand that just because that didn't work, it doesn't mean that my self-worth is any less, or I'm a piece of shit because something didn't work out, it sounds silly, and everyone listening is like, oh, I know that you're not, I know, Scott, you're not an asshole because something didn't work out. But it's easier to say it and think it. When you're going through it, your mind hijacks you, your mind plays tricks on you. Your mind, it's wild what your mind can make you think. And when something doesn't work out, when, say, for example, a guest cancels on a podcast, there's a million things that are happening in their life as to why they canceled. The first thing is, they don't want to be on the show. It's not good enough for them.
Yeah.
They don't like my style. Like you start to think of all the negative, right? And you're like, what am I doing wrong as a host? Like, maybe I should change how I ask questions so I attract people like that. Meanwhile, probably their kid's sick or something. Of course. But the point is, and sometimes real bad stuff happens too, but the point is, yes, I think that most of us accidentally let our self-worth be defined by the thing that we're building, because we put so much of ourselves into it. But it's very important, whether or not it's a partner or a peer or someone. I mean, you can have a friend who's just an incredible friend, but find a way to have a circle around you of people that reinforce the fact that your business success is not your self-worth. That is the most important. And that's also why entrepreneurs who sell their companies can get massively depressed, because they just sold their themselves.
It's like losing a child.
It's like losing a child, but that's not a healthy, and it's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. So you have to find a system. For me, it's Gina. You can find something else. You have to find a system to make sure that doesn't happen to you, because if enough bad stuff happens, and I mean, as you grow, employees quit, you have to fire people, lawsuits, all this stuff happens to everyone as you grow. You're going to have to remove yourself from the outcome.
Yeah. When did you start to, I guess, what was the biggest mindset shift that you had to make internally to get to where you are now, to get over that resistance of even sharing that you had a podcast?
Yeah.
To get to where you are now? Like, I'm wondering if there's a certain episode or something that happened in the process that just triggered this next level of growth within yourself and the show.
I think that my journey has been a lot of small moments. I don't think there's been a lot of big moments, because even if you go back and, my dad worked in government, and that's way different than entrepreneurship. I mean, like government is even different than working for a private company, let alone being an entrepreneur and trying to build your own thing or working in like software startups. I think that my mission has always been the same, to create a life of fulfillment and freedom and basically future-proof myself and never let my life be controlled by someone else. Never let my happiness be controlled by someone else. So I will answer your question, but I want to back up because I think it's an important context. The reason why I didn't just like follow the same path as my parents is because I saw how they were set up with their work and their pension, and they could retire at, a pretty reasonable age and be very comfortable. And, my dad bought his first house cash when he was very young. And I saw that the energy they put into their career, if I put the same amount of energy and followed their path, wouldn't have the same pension, wouldn't have the same quality of life. So there was this disparity between their input and their life, and then fast forward my input and then my quality of life. I found the traditional career path, the way that my parents operated, which is fine, it didn't yield the same outcome, which is why now you see people pushing off having kids. You see people pushing off buying a house because they can't afford it. So they're all having kids in condos at like 35. Everyone's stressed out about money because the same input, the same amount of hours and energy and education does not equal the same output. So you have to find a different journey. You have to find a different path. So my whole life has been finding, how do I have the same life as my parents in 20, whatever, I was born in 90. How do I have the same life as my parents? Because that was my standard. That's usually how we benchmark our standards. If we come from a good house, and I did, no trauma, no stress, very, very happy childhood, that's what I want for my kids. So I was like, how do I have the detached home with the pool in a good city with a nice pension, nice retirement? And in my mind, the traditional path didn't work. The W-2 9 to 5, I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So this was the first idea that led me to, I'm going to try to do different things than my parents. That was like the inception. But me starting the podcast, me working in startups, what allowed me to sort of turn it into my personality or turn, I guess, give myself 100% to the thing, I think it was looking at the radical shift that I made away from how my parents lived their life, but then but did it successfully. Looked for all the points where I did something different than what I knew how to do, and yet came out on the other side successfully.
Yeah.
And repeatedly, and it created a lot of trust in myself. So repeatedly, I just did different things, went on different journeys, learned new things, joined different companies, tried to build new things that my parents have never done in their entire life, and it worked out. And I have a list of wins across my life where I've just trusted myself to figure it out. And I think that if you do that for long enough, I mean, right now it's the podcast, but the next thing I do and the next thing I do, if I apply the same energy and mindset and will to it and ability to, just be this self-taught individual that's going to jump into something new and figure it out. And what's it saying? Like you jump off the cliff and build the plane on the way down, or learn how to fly on the way down, whatever it is. That's worked out 7 times in my life. So why wouldn't it work out the 8th time? And I think that when you understand how many times you've won in your life, as opposed to focusing on all the negatives, which as humans are very prone to focusing on negative, but if you can overcome that and recognize your wins, it makes the next thing not so difficult to take on, even if you've never done it before. So it was a series of wins and a series of reinventing myself that allowed me to do this. Yeah.
Are you a Seinfeld fan?
Yeah.
Bro, it reminds me of George just doing everything the opposite. Like he's like, yo, my life fucking sucks. I'm living with my parents. I'm unemployed. Yeah. I'm bald. I'm not fit. I'm not happy. From now on, I'm just going to do everything that I would normally do, but the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And it really reminds me of that. He goes up to this girl at the coffee shop. He's like, hi, I'm George. I'm like 38. I'm unemployed and I live with my parents. And she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Yeah, that's
By
great.
the way, why does George look so old for a 38-year-old? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I don't know if it was 38, but yeah.
No. Like there's like memes about it. There's like memes about why like the F do Seinfeld characters look so old when they're actually like compared to the age you're supposed to be.
Right.
George looks like he was like 55 the whole time, and he's actually supposed to be like late 30s.
Well, it's crazy. You know what's a little disappointing too is like there's less people that I can talk to about Seinfeld.
Yeah.
There's less people that understand Seinfeld references, which is really disappointing to me.
Seinfeld's so golden.
Yeah, and
So good.
I feel like that era, people either picked Friends or Seinfeld because they were happening at the same time. And for me, don't get me wrong, like I think Friends has good episodes. I think there's some humor there, but like the level of intellect and humor Seinfeld's just on a way different frequency.
Seinfeld is like an absolute savant. He is a comedic genius.
Yeah.
Friends is entertaining. Seinfeld is just on another level, and he's still good. Like he's still incredible. To this day, he's incredible.
Yeah, Seinfeld's amazing. Larry David's like, fuck, dude, they're fucking geniuses.
There's not that many shows that I watch that are like, if you think about how clever they are, Seinfeld was like peak.
And I feel like a lot of the stuff that they put out in the 90s, though, wouldn't even be socially acceptable to put out now, which is crazy.
100%. I still like watching movies, but like I like watching movies that came out right before COVID. Like, cause then they're not woke bullshit movies. They're just like funny. They're just like funny. I actually have no idea how Family Guy is still on air because Family Guy is offensive as fuck. Like,
which is probably why it's still on air, because the majority of people who actually they want to laugh. They want
everyone
humor.
wants to laugh. No one wants this woke, like censored, vanilla, like devoid of entertainment bullshit. No one wants it. No one wants it at all.
There's especially in Canada. Thank God Trudeau hopefully is leaving soon.
He is leaving. He resigned. I'm not a big fan of him.
Well, I don't think I've never met a
Well,
Canadian.
actually, I'm very proud because I was never a fan of him. But I mean, he won. There was a lot of times when people were fans of him. More recently, people are over his shit. I was never a fan.
Yeah.
I've actually, and I'm going to say this because I think it's important before I get political hate, because I don't talk about politics often, but there are much better, doesn't matter if you're right or left, there are much better left leaders. In Canada, it's liberal and conservative. Here it's Democrat, Republican. There's much better left-leaning leaders. I never thought he was a good leader. Doesn't matter if you're right or left wing. There's a lot better. But
well, it's interesting. Again, whether you like these people or you don't, if you look at the most influential people in the world right now, at least in America right now, you have Trump, you have Elon Musk, you have RFK, right? These are easily three of the most influential people in the world, and simultaneously, they're three of the most hated people in the world. There's every day people scheming, how can we take these people out, right? Like, how can we eliminate these people from the face of the earth? And one thing that you have to respect about all three of those guys is that they are fearless in speaking their truth.
You have to be.
They're fearless on really staying committed to their vision and to their values. And whether you agree with them or not, you have to at least respect their courage in that process.
If no one disagrees with you, you're not influential.
Yeah.
Because that means you don't have a point of view.
How has that evolved as you've gone through this maturation process, right? Because a lot of times, we were talking about it a little bit before, but like, you know, your podcast, it's like business, entrepreneurship, and then of course there's like mindset stuff sprinkled in, because that's all part of this journey. And there's also an aspect where it's like, okay, if you start talking about religion or politics, you're going to ostracize and piss off some of your community. So how do you go about doing that?
That's a good question. I've struggled with this a lot. I don't think I have a perfect answer. I think that it's important for you to bring yourself into your content and bring in things and maybe some spiky points of view, because at the end of the day, people can listen to a ton of different podcasts. Why do they come to your podcast? It's for you. Now, in terms of truly spiky opinions, not just like spiky opinions about entrepreneurship, like, you know, you say like, oh, I don't know, pick a business topic that's in the news, and you can say something like, oh, the plane crash with Delta, where the plane flipped in Toronto, and they're offering $30,000 to people that are on the plane. You could be like, that's a cultural business topic, right? Like, oh, that's bullshit. They're giving people $30,000. It's like they're trying to get people not to sue them for $30 million, like corporate garbage. Like, that's a spiky business point of view. People have opinions both ways, but it's not going to get you canceled.
Yeah.
It's very different. Politics, religion, these are polarizing topics. These are topics that once people associate you with not just an opinion, but an identity, they see all of your content through a different lens. So if I say that nobody should take the handout because they should sue Delta's ass for like $30 million, I don't like Scott's one opinion on that. But you know what? I'll listen to the 99% of the other stuff he does. If you go into these super polarizing topics, I think you have to have a plan. I think you have to have a reason for doing them. I think that if you truly feel something important, I don't think it hurts to speak your mind once in a while. But if your content is not political content, like when Trump wins, post congratulations, whatever, whatever. But if you're posting Trump every single day and you're trying to run a business podcast, you're not in alignment with your content.
Yeah.
So in that case, do you want to do a political podcast? Fine, then do that, because you're actually not serving anybody at this point. You're isolating people because people will not like you for having a political point of view, and they're gonna in your eyes, your identity is gonna shift. And you're also not giving content that's useful to the people that actually do want to consume content, that are looking for educational content from you. So if you want to have a constant political religion opinion, or even like an opinion about the wars that go on, truly like polarizing topics, I think you have to think about, if you do it ongoing, how does it serve the people that you are creating content for? And it's fine if you want to go in that direction, but know that there will be a gap if you are a content creator where you lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you have to lean in to that perspective, because then you will find new people. But if you do not lean in, then you're just going to lose people, you're going to lose sponsors, and you're not going to find new people.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be political, lean into politics. Don't
half-ass it. Yeah.
Don't half-ass it. And also, I think that, listen, if you are a content creator, you're not being like a coward by being careful. Like, you do not have FU money. You are building a business. I think that you have to be smart about this.
Yeah.
I know a lot of creators. Scott Galloway speaks about this a lot. Do you know Scott Galloway? I love his content. You should watch his stuff. But he speaks about it, and they had the conversation where he was very vocal about October 7th and Israel, like he was pro-Israel, and he had about $1 million in speaking gigs canceled. And he asked why, and the brands were saying, well, it's not because we don't agree with you. It's because there are more creators than available sponsor dollars and available keynotes. And we can go find 10 other creators that won't lose us half our audience. So it's not because they don't like you. It's a business decision. Now he's like, that's fine with me, because I've had exits and I have FU money and I never have to work again. And I don't have to worry if I can put food on the table for my kids and support my family and support my parents. But for people that do have obligations, it's irresponsible to just post without a plan.
Yeah.
Because if you do have kids and you do have a mortgage and you do have a wife, or you do have a husband, or you do have parents you want to take care of, you're basically just blowing up your business without a plan. So if you want to have again, I think it's not just a one-off, but you want to start to almost include something polarizing as like a content bucket.
Right.
Have a plan for it.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's irresponsible.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective. I think that kind of covers all the grounds. It was so interesting. We were talking about it a little bit before, but like before October 7th, literally, I never made a post about Judaism or Israel. And I was always proud of being Jewish, but it wasn't like such a strong part of my identity. I found spirituality through plant medicine and other practices. And it was really interesting. Like, I mean, after the thing that for me And I think for a lot of Jewish people around the world, that was so hard to navigate and hard to understand was, yes, the attack on October 7th was absolutely tragic. And like, that's what Hamas does, right?
I think I think that they understood that. I think it was harder for them to understand why smart, reasonable people around the world did not see it the same way
and
they
that's
did.
where I was going. That's
Yeah.
where I was going. It was like, even before Israel made any sort of retaliation, there's people, hundreds of thousands of people in the street basically applauding Hamas
Yeah.
and saying that Israel deserved this.
It's insane.
And that is what woke up so many Jewish people like myself who were proud Jews, but weren't really active in the community. And I just remember, bro, literally every single night for probably 10 days straight, I was waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning, and it was like, bro, you need to use your platform to share your truth. And my truth is what I believe to be the truth of the situation, as someone who's lived in Israel and like just feel really connected to what was happening. And when I started making a couple posts about Israel and Judaism, within 6 weeks probably lost 15 to 20K followers, and then was just receiving so many hateful comments and messages. And that was really challenging to navigate at first. But when I look back with hindsight, I'm actually so grateful because it woke up this different version of myself.
Yeah.
And it's something I feel so connected to. And it also attracted a tribe where people who were following me, who were also Jewish, like they saw me step into this new version of myself, and they were so inspired to start sharing their truth more.
Yeah.
And of course, yes, I lost a lot of followers, potential business, sure. And at the same time, my perspective is like, if someone really radically disagrees with my perspective and, you know, they believe that Israel deserved what they got, like, I don't really want to do business with that type of person. And the challenge with that is my main mission is to just help people awaken their souls, open their hearts, become more healthy, heal their traumas. And that's universal. I want to help everyone.
It is universal.
You know, it's not based on what religion you are, what color you are, what country you're from. None of that shit for me really matters. So I know a lot of the people who loved my content and they saw me post about that, like you said, all it takes is one post and they're never going to be able to see anything again.
By the way, you know, I'm saying that, again, it's very easy to say it and not do it. Like, I also posted a lot around October 7th, and I lost a lot of followers too.
Yeah.
Didn't really bother me. Like, I don't post about it every single week, but I'll post about it every once in a while.
Yeah.
But the difference is I didn't like start doing podcasts. I do business podcasts. I didn't like say I do like 2 podcasts a week. One of those 2 podcasts was not about like, that's it. So I still bring myself and my ideas to my audience, but I think that for some people it almost takes over, and they don't serve their audience because they're so focused on the thing that's angering them. I think you always have to serve your audience. This is very important. Bring your opinions and bring your ideas and bring your beliefs, but don't let it be in spite of the actual purpose that you have with your content. I think that's important.
Being super intentional with it and not coming from a reactive spot.
Yes,
really
and also
important.
being not feeding into the propaganda bullshit. So, first of all, I'm very careful that if I read something that angers me, I make sure that it's true before I post it.
Yeah.
I just have a filter on it, and it doesn't serve anybody to push lies. It never serves anybody. So always do like a little bit of research, because
sure.
I don't like, listen, I'm obviously very pro-Israel. I'm Jewish. Gina's Jewish. Like, I'm very pro-Israel. Gina, we had to move Gina's family out of Israel around October 7th. She was very stressed out. But I never want to propagate lies. Even if the lie would support Israel, you don't propagate lies. But I don't see a lot of people having that litmus test on what they push out.
They see something that aligns with their
Yes.
view of the world, and they're like, yes,
Yes,
boom, let's put it out.
exactly. And I disagree
sure.
with that.
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I think that I think the goal is, and I think that really, I mean, I had a lot of people in my DMs, like a lot of like pro Palestine, never pro Hamas, because Hamas is a fucking terrorist group, but like pro Palestine, like people from Palestine in my DMs. And I would never fight. I would never argue. I just have conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, I think bringing anger, even if it's justified, is never the answer. It doesn't help anyone.
It's also, and you might have touched on this earlier, it's also one of the most important things in growing your business and being an entrepreneur is managing your emotions.
1,000%.
If you're coming from a reactive state with an idea or with your employees, it's almost always going to end in a shitty way.
Well, this is why the household is so important, because it calms you when you have a good partner at home and you have a safe house. When you get the bad emails or the bullshit, you can't have trauma. You can't have stress and anxiety. Also, I mean, like I'm not reactive to anything. So my thing is like, if I get a bad email, I go to the gym, I go for a walk, I go work out, I go kick my ass, go deadlift, go squat, go bench. It's like, if I beat myself up in the gym, it gives me a couple seconds, and then I can go approach the problem like with a level head. Yes. I just need I need separation.
You said you didn't have much trauma as a kid. I'm curious to know, what would you say is the biggest obstacle that you've overcome in your journey? You know, whether it's a certain insecurity, whether it's a certain event or experience that happened when you were younger that shifted your mind in some sort of way.
I think that imposter syndrome, like everyone, I think that's a big one. I mean, I never had an example of going out on my own and building my own thing from scratch. I had examples of a beautiful family that I wanted to create, but like the path to get a family and a house and comfort and fulfillment in sort of like a more modern context. Let me make sure I say that right. I do have a path to build a beautiful family, because I would emulate what my parents did. I do have a path to fulfillment, but it was a financial piece that I could not solve for following the same career path as my parents, in my mind.
Yeah.
So everything I did was like, am I good enough to do this? You know, what reason do I have for thinking that I can actually go do something that I've never seen an example of?
What makes you unique? What makes you qualified?
Exactly.
I don't know. What is that
dude.
thing like? Because
it's like a therapy session.
No, because it's so important, right? Like the most important thing, I think one of the most important things that someone can figure out is what their strengths are, what their unique gifts are, because a lot of times we focus on our shortcomings and insecurities. So if you can actually identify what makes you unique, and if you can invest in that skill, in that trait, and go all in on it, then you're going to be massively successful. And it just has to be one or two things. And that could be your voice. It could be your artistic expression. It could be your creativity. It could be the way that you're present and you show up for people. It can be the way that you start conversations and you listen. And it can be your unique energy and your passion. Like, these things are so essential. So I'm curious for you, like, what does make Scott Clary unique?
What makes me unique? I don't know. I'm going to tell you the things that I'm thinking of right now, but you tell me if they're unique. I don't think they're unique, but I know a lot of people think they're unique because I've been told this. So when I want to do something, like, there is nothing on this planet that can stop me from figuring it out. Like, I am like at the onset, like, almost like a glutton for punishment. I like just like trying to do the thing so many times.
Yeah.
Almost an unreasonable amount of times. Like, I don't mind. I think
So you're relentless.
Like incredibly
you persevere.
so. Incredibly, because I have this other idea. I have this other idea that whatever you do, only one thing has to work out in your life. And when you go into life like that, you're like, who gives a shit if it takes 15 years to figure out? I'm going to live for another 60.
Yeah.
15 is like what? Nothing. 15 is nothing. So I have a couple sort of like rules that I live by. Like one of them is like a 10-year rule. Like if you want to start anything, commit 10 years of your life to it because it frames your mindset properly. It sets up your actions. It sets up yourself so that you can not only commit to it the long term, so you can do it for an unreasonable amount of time. Also, it sets up sort of your financial commitment. So if you're going to start a business, if you commit to it for 10 years, how do you do that? Well, maybe that doesn't mean quitting your job right away. Maybe it means like keeping your job, keeping your 9 to 5, and then building your business during 5 to 9. Like all these ideas are important when you're building anything meaningful, but the macro idea is commit to it for 10 years. But that idea, doing it for an unreasonable amount of time, combined with the idea that you only have to win once, combined with the idea that if someone else has done it before me, they're not that special and I can figure it out. It's just about the amount of reps. Those ideas combined together gives you this unshakable amount of self-belief and confidence to go get the thing done. So I don't think that any of those ideas alone are that unique, but I think that when you have all these ideas running in your mind all the time, success is not a maybe, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Like if I record enough podcast episodes, I will learn how to interview better. My editors will figure out the perfect hook. I'll figure out how to get the better guests. Like you just do it enough and the end happens.
Yeah.
It's very simple. It's very, very simple.
And you also, I remember seeing something that you posted once too, and it was poverty loves indecision.
100%.
So basically what you were explaining with this 10-year rule, it's kind of like the contrary to that.
Correct.
Right? Poverty loves indecisiveness.
Yes.
And it's like shiny object syndrome. You're going to start one thing, a couple months in, you see another thing. It's like drop shipping, TikTok shop. I'm going to drop this program, this course.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to get into merch. And like you just are constantly distracting yourself. And that's a good way to stay poor.
Yes.
And then having that committed 10-year vision where it's like, yo, I'm going all into this thing, regardless of the challenges, regardless of the obstacles.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out because someone else has already figured it out. You're not putting someone on Mars. Like you'll figure it out. It's not that hard. It's hard work, but it's all been done before. What happens with entrepreneurship, and even forget all the lessons that apply to entrepreneurship. They apply to business. They apply to relationships. They apply to health goals. They apply to any goals you have in your life. So if you think about, if I want to lose weight and I jump from one diet to the other diet and I switch up my workout routine all the time and I never commit to anything, it's never going to work out. If I want to find a good partner and I date for 2 years and then, this girl on Instagram looks hot, so I'm going to go follow her and chase after her, I'm going to break up. It's never going to work out because the second you get into a committed relationship with that hot girl on Instagram, there's going to be someone else who seems better on social media or seems better because, again, the grass is always greener, but the grass is fertilized with shit. So you have to keep thinking about anything in life. You commit 10 years of your life to it, minimum, hopefully relationship longer than that. You'll find a way to make it successful. But what happens in relationships, in health goals, in business, is people start because they're excited. And this is also why I hate motivation. I hate the concept of motivation. Motivation does nothing for anyone because they start and they lose motivation and they lose the fire. And then the real work begins and the real work is tough and they don't want to do the real work. So they start again. And you are trapped in this purgatory, forget purgatory, that's too nice. You're trapped in this hell forever because you repeat this cycle for your entire life. And then you never achieve anything worth achieving because you constantly restart. Because the second the motivation dies, the hard work begins. You don't want the hard work. But the ironic thing is everything you want is on the other side of the hard work and people just don't push through that.
Yeah.
And they keep restarting. Then your life always sucks because you keep restarting.
How do you approach things? Because you've probably encountered this so often, and I know so many people who have created success in the business world, in the material world, and they're still fucking miserable. And they also didn't allow themselves to enjoy the journey. So now it's like they reached their desired outcome, but they didn't really allow themselves to embrace the present moment enough. And I'm curious how you approach that in your journey, in your life, like, because there's always going to be more. Like once we hit one milestone, it's like, okay, cool. Like the next thing, right? And we're constantly shifting our focus. What's next? Which is very important if we want to continue ascending. Like you see it with these dynasty sports teams, like whether it's the Patriots, for example, it's like as soon, or Nick Saban at Alabama, it's like they're literally, you'll see this guy smile when he holds the trophy. The next day, he's already focused on, okay, our recruiting team, like spring camp. And there's this, sometimes it seems like almost not enjoying the journey enough. How do you approach it in terms of staying hungry and motivated and committed every single day, and also allowing yourself to have fun and enjoy?
I think that's very important. I think that a lot of people, they focus on living for milestones, and life is not made up of milestones. Life is made up of ordinary days. And I think that we have all the components, and people, for some reason, because they don't architect their days properly, and they assume that to be successful, it means that they have to endure long amounts of pain and hardship to be successful. So they almost they structure their days in a way where they work more than they should, probably beyond the point of even being productive in pursuit of like some long-term vision or milestone.
Right.
So enjoying the journey, in my mind, is architecting every day, not so that you're less efficient or that you're less productive towards the end goal, but just take parts of your day and do the things that actually fulfill you so that you can show up as your best self during the time of the day where you want to actually work and progress in your business milestones. Like, I mean, if you think about the things that fulfill humans, right? So it'd be movement, it'd be relationship with other people, good conversations, usually a little bit of spirituality or mindfulness, and then also work, problems worth solving. And if you actually optimize your work, problems worth solving, for the parts of your day where you have the most energy and you're the most focused and you're in the most flow state, then you can actually put all those other pieces into your day. And then every single day becomes holistically fulfilling. So for us, it seems like common sense. Like we move every day, go to the gym, go for a walk, whatever. We spend time with somebody we want to talk with, we want to chat with. There are many people that wake up, work all day, beyond like optimal work because they have no more energy, and they go to bed and do it again and again and again and again. So I'm telling you, like, understand your energy throughout the day and optimize your day, because, like, in all seriousness, like, work will always expand to the time that you give it.
So
always.
True. That's so true.
And I hear this from, you want a real example? I hear this from people that have kids all the time. Kids made my business better because it forced me to prioritize. I could not work after 5. So funny enough, I found a way to get my work done before 5.
Yeah.
Or it focuses you to prioritize on the things that actually move the needle, because most of us do bullshit every single day that we don't even have to do.
Yeah.
Most of our day is filled with not needle moving tasks, but bullshit tasks that make us feel like we're busy, which is the dumbest thing. I don't know why we all do this. I really don't know why we do stuff that we actually don't have to do just to feel busy. We all know the things that actually move the needle, and I'm guilty of it too. When I have like free time, I'll like post like 5 more clips on social media, even knowing like this is like an absolute waste of my time. Yeah. An absolute waste of my time.
It's almost
it's like an addiction.
Well, it's almost like it's like a productive procrastination.
1,000%.
It's like we're doing things to fill the time, but they're not the things that actually matter most.
So I'm saying figure out those things that matter most. Work on those when your energy is high, when you can achieve flow state, when there's no distraction, but then block time for all the other important parts of your life. Movement, conversation with your kids, with your wife, with your spouse. and go to the gym. Do that shit every day.
Yeah.
And that's how you enjoy the journey.
I do my best to get 2 deep flow state sessions in per day for my work. So I define that as like 1 90-minute session, completely uninterrupted. My phone's on airplane mode, phone's in the other room, and I'm just locked in. And that's only 3 hours of work. But I realize when I actually stay consistent with that, I get so much shit done in those 3 hours that it's equivalent to like a normal 7 or 8 hour day.
1,000%.
You know?
1,000%. And if I try and work when I'm like, say at the end of the day, I'm, unwinding, winding down, whatever, watching TV, hanging out with Gina, like eating dinner. When I try and work while I'm doing that, if I was focused in flow state, I inbox 0 every day. Like I clear all my emails. It would probably take me about an hour because I'm very efficient at like clearing emails and delegating. If I do that while I'm distracted, it takes me 4 hours.
Yeah.
Easy, very easy. So, I mean, I think that just optimize. And what happens when what's really sad actually is when you don't focus on enjoying every single day and doing the things that you should be doing every single day as opposed to just working and working on bullshit, you train yourself to hate every single day.
Yeah.
You train yourself to hate the days that aren't the milestones. And I think that that's why you're depressed after selling the company, because you have no purpose. You have no enjoyment. Every single day of your life up to this point was in pursuit of this goal, and that goal's done.
Yeah. It's actually
a mind fuck.
I almost think it's like, because you hear about famous artists all the time, and they have the most fucked up mental health.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
Whether it's like Kanye, whether it's Justin Bieber, and when you put yourself in their shoes, right, and you're like imagining going on tour, performing in front of 50,000 people in a stadium, right? You are getting flooded with dopamine, and then after the show's over,
yeah,
you still are going to your hotel room and you might even be by yourself. And it's like going from that extreme to the other is such a mind fuck, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I almost think most people go through life getting these huge dumps of dopamine. It's like you graduate college, yes, right? You get this job, yes. You get married, let's go. You have your first kid, and it's like these constant timelines where you're dumping this dopamine and you feel like this big sense of joy and accomplishment. But I think it's much more effective to actually be dripping that dopamine every single day through your workouts.
I agree.
Through just positive interactions, through positive self-talk. How can you actually like be more regulated with your neurotransmitters?
Yeah.
Rather than just fluctuating and going on this roller coaster.
This is why social media is so toxic, right? Because it's all these small little dopamine hits.
Yeah.
It's all, and you're doing it in like you sit down at night when you should be relaxing, and all you're doing is just like amping up your dopamine again with like scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. It's very unhealthy. It's very, very unhealthy.
Yeah, and then it's always the duality of there's this tool, we have the opportunity to consume or create. There's really only 2 ways to live life. You can be a consumer or you can be a creator. 99% of people are in the loophole, the hamster wheel of constantly consuming shit, whether it's material things or whether it's just other people's lives on social media. Yeah. And all of that time that you're wasting watching strangers post the highlight reel of their life could actually be spent creating a life that you fucking love.
I know.
And I feel like one of the biggest regrets that our generation is going to have on their deathbed is like, wow, I wish I didn't spend so much of my life watching other people live their life on social media.
I think that's true.
When I could have actually been creating a life that I was super proud of. And it's wild, bro. Like, it's wild. Even just like being somewhere, being at like what's the coolest place you've been? Like traveled to, or a really cool event?
Coolest place I've been?
Like, what's the first thing that pops in? Like an amazing event you went to, like a sports game or a concert?
A cool place that I've been was Monaco. That was very cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was a very fun trip. That's like a different than most trips. Right?
And what was like something amazing you were doing in Monaco that was super
Seeing
unique?
F1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it was a wild trip. It was a lot of fun.
what's crazy though is like you can be at F1 in Monaco.
Yeah.
You can be at the Grand Canyon in Arizona.
Yeah.
You can be at top of the Empire State Building. You can be doing like the most epic shit. And you'll see people at that place like on Instagram watching other people's stories.
Yeah.
And that always blows me away. I'm like, bro, do you realize where you're at right now?
Yeah.
It's like, why do you care what someone else is doing when literally, if you just connected to the present moment, you would actually realize no one is living a better life than you right now.
I know. But that's why, you ever watch concerts now? Everyone's filming the concert through their, I don't do that. I refuse to, listen, dude, I put out so much content and I refuse to do some shit like 2-minute video, secondhand video of a performer on stage. Like that's, first of all, it's garbage content.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Like if you want to take a picture, that's it. Post it. Nobody else gives a shit about you recording 5 minutes of whatever performer on stage.
Dude, it's
but
so
people just sit there filming. They do it at concerts. They'll do it at comedy shows. They'll do it at sports games. I'm like, be in the moment. Just enjoy.
Yeah.
Just enjoy. Like I actually stopped doing such ridiculous video content because I don't find any value in it. I don't enjoy consuming it. I don't enjoy making it. It takes me out of the moment. If I want to capture the moment, I'll do like 15-second and like a photo.
Yeah.
And like then I'm in the moment, that I'm actually enjoying, and I don't touch my phone.
Do you and Gina have any, I'm sure you guys do with 6 years because you guys both create a lot. Do you guys have any rules and boundaries when it comes to like being on your phones? Like this is time where we're just purely disconnected from devices and we're just connecting to each other. Like how do you guys approach that?
We haven't really set rules. Like we haven't written out some commandments for the house, but like
Maybe you should.
Maybe we should. No, when we're together, that's one thing that I really love about her. A lot of our values, a lot of it's just like, it's unspoken, but we both act the same way. So like when we're on date night, we're just not on our phones.
Yeah.
It's not like she has to tell me or I have to tell her.
Yeah.
It's just like we enjoy each other. So why the fuck would we be on our phones?
Right.
If we want to be on our phones when we're trying to have a date, like maybe we're not a good match because we're like so fucking bored with each other's company.
Yeah.
I've never felt that. I don't think she has either. And I think that, that's hard to just, there's no playbook for finding somebody who you're on the same page with around all these things. But this is where there's so much outside of just the initial attraction that is very important for a relationship. Because when you just sync on all these small little things that sometimes people have to put rules in place for.
Yeah. Well, it's better if you have the rules, but like they just come so naturally. You don't even need to write
One other
them down.
thing that I never understood. I never understood why people celebrated getting away from their spouse. When guys are like, oh, I want to go on a guy's trip. Or, like, she's my best friend. Like, I don't mind like my time alone, but I don't really like it. Like I like time with her more than time alone. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm young. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's not something that changes over time.
Well, I mean, you've been together for a while.
But like there's people that we know that are like very happy when they're like spouses out of town. That to me doesn't sound like a great relationship.
Do you know who James Sexton is? The famous divorce attorney?
Yeah. He was on Diary of a CEO. People keep telling me to bring him on.
Yeah. Well, you definitely should. He's like a buddy of mine. So whenever he comes to Miami, I think he's looking to like batch a bunch of.
Yeah. I watched his episode. It's very good.
He's amazing. I think it was him, or it might have actually been David Guillaume, the Kabbalah teacher. But he spoke to a couple thousand people who have gotten divorced and asked them, when was the moment that you knew you were getting divorced? And 90% of them said before they actually got married, they knew that this wasn't their person.
And they just did it.
And which is crazy because I think a lot of times you reach a certain age and there's a certain expectation. Okay, I'm 35. I need to be married, need to have my first kid by 36,
Yeah.
right? If I want to really be following this trajectory, and then we oftentimes make decisions that aren't in alignment,
Yeah.
and it's obviously a much different timeline for men and women as well.
Yeah, women have a clock, so it's stressful. But yeah. I don't know. That would be so sad to me. To know before getting married that you're going to divorce this person.
Isn't that crazy? Like, to just even conceptualize?
No, that's crazy. I've never felt, I mean, people have to have the courage to make hard decisions.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I think, I think there's a lot of focus from an early age of constantly learning, right? Like, life is about learning new things.
Amen, yes.
Oftentimes, like, as I've gotten older, I realize that life is more about unlearning. It's about unlearning some of the patterns. It's about unlearning some of the subconscious programs that I adopted as a young child.
It's also a great duality, right?
Exactly. And it's this constant journey of, like, really evaluating, like, hey, how am I operating my life? And what is a belief that actually no longer serves me? Or what is something that I've been doing that maybe served me in the past, but no longer aligns with where I want to go moving forward? I'm curious if there's anything that comes up for you, like, in terms of a belief or a pattern that you've really had to reprogram in recent memory to continue your growth personally and professionally.
So I think that it's not that these ideas are bad, it's that they don't serve you in the season of the life that you're in. So from a business perspective, or entrepreneurship, that attitude of I can figure it out at all costs is good to get things off the ground. Even that attitude of this business is my identity is good when you're just getting started, but it's no longer good when you scale, when you grow, when you have to delegate, when you realize that you can't build this whole thing on your own and you have to find good people around you. So it's interesting because that attitude of figuring it all out is good to a point.
Yeah.
And then you have to unlearn the shit out of that and be like, I'm not the best in the world at everything. So I got it off the ground. Now let me find people that are better than me to help me scale this.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. And I think that a lot of it is because when we learn things, we also attach them to our identity. Like, my identity is the ability to figure it out. But there's a point where you got to kill that. Like, you have to get rid of that ego, right? And then you have to find a way to evolve into something that is, I figured out enough, but someone else can figure it out better than me. And that's how you go to the next level. I think I'm trying to think in other parts of my life. Yeah, I think that even like let's think of a relationship example. What served me then that doesn't serve me now?
Well, I think I want to give you the opportunity to say that. But I think
these are all very good. These are all very good questions. They're all very deep.
Well, you just had a solo podcast recently that was all about the power of questions, right? Because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions you ask yourself. And I think that's absolutely true. And you were using some really good examples regarding, I think, when Steve Jobs was making the Apple computer and a couple other things regarding the power of questions. Because a lot of times, like, we can't see what we can't see.
Of course.
And oftentimes it requires this bigger level of thinking and bigger questions so we can actually solve problems in a new creative way. So do you have maybe 2 to 3 questions that you think are like absolute game changers in terms of just thinking bigger in business, like thinking bigger in scale, thinking bigger just in terms of creating more potential?
So the main idea around that episode was the first level that I tried to, or the first level I tried to get people to think above is not just seeking answers, but sort of questioning everything. Because I think that there are different questions that expose different things in your life based on what you're trying to accomplish. However, more often than not, people are just seeking answers. So we already have to get out of the mindset of just seeking answers. I think that's very important. Now, if we want to understand questions that can sort of move our life forward, I think first we have to start to ask like bigger questions, like not just how to do things differently or how to build things differently, but is the game that I'm playing even the game that I want to play? Those are like questions like that help you reevaluate sort of your North Star. They help you reevaluate your purpose in life, and they help you identify like what you should be pursuing. So asking questions like that are important, but then again, we've mentioned this a few times, two things can be true at the same time. So there's a point where you can question sort of the game that you're playing, and is it something that you want to actually play, not just an idea or a North Star that's been implanted in your head by someone else. Could be your parents, could be your peers, whatever. And then the second part of that is not only ask questions to evaluate the game you're playing, but then when it's time to actually take action, ask questions that unveil the actions that you take. And a lot of people, they ask action-oriented questions when they should be really asking sort of like bigger idea questions that figure out what they should actually be focused on. But when they actually figure out what they should be focused on, then they don't ask the action questions. So what I mean by this is you have to figure out your ikigai or your North Star first.
Yeah.
And then after that, you have to figure out how to actually do the thing. But people are asking, what should I do, before they even figure out their purpose. And when they figure out their purpose, they're not asking, how do I actually achieve this purpose? So it's always like avoidant behavior. They're trying to avoid really the questions they should be asking based on where they're at in their life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think we've been.
This is a very esoteric concept, but I'm trying to help people understand that if you are, let's use like tangible examples. If you're building a business, you should be asking yourself questions as to, why am I even interested in this business? Why is this important for me? I mentioned Ikigai, which is like a Venn diagram of, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can monetize. There's a few different models like this, but you have to ask that question first. So when you want to build a business, don't just ask, how do I do it? Ask, why do I want to build this business? When you jump into a relationship, don't just ask, how do I make this relationship the best relationship possible? Ask, why do I want to be with this person? Ask those hard questions first. Now, once you have those questions answered, then it's time to ask the questions about how to do the thing. Once you have those questions answered and you figure out your purpose, it doesn't serve you anymore to pontificate again and again and again. It's time to actually take action. And then there are action-oriented questions that can unveil sort of where you should go or what you should do next, with the next step for the business, with the next step for the relationship. So it doesn't serve you to always just sort of be in the clouds. You have to bring it down to earth. But what most people do is they don't ask why they're doing the thing that they're doing, and they also don't ask how to do it. They just seek answers. That is like the how do I say this? It's like the most rudimentary way to think. So whether or not you are trying to figure out your purpose and you're asking large sort of life impacting open-ended questions, or you're asking questions that will lead to the proper action you should take, the answer and the successful end result is at the end of questions. That's what that whole podcast was about, basically.
Well, I'm curious to know too, for you, because this is such a common question, right? How do I find my purpose? How do I step into my purpose? For me, there's a couple things. There's this beautiful concept in Kabbalah called tikkun, which literally translates to correction. This is your soul's correction. Your soul came here to heal and fix this thing. So for some people, it's anger. For others, it's jealousy. For me, it's fear of abandonment, right? So our mission is to work with our tikkun, elevate from our tikkun, and then help others on that same journey, because the easiest way to connect to your purpose is to reverse engineer and ask yourself, hey, what's the biggest thing I struggled with? What's the biggest obstacle I overcame? And once you actually overcome that, you're going to feel most likely very passionate about helping others on that journey. And it's oftentimes why you see the people making the biggest impact in the health space are people that were going through terrible chronic illness. They overcame so many challenges and obstacles. The Western medicine model didn't work for them, and they had to heal themselves holistically. They had to go to India. They had to try all these weird things, and they found their solution. They became their own healer, and now they want to empower others with the same abilities. And a lot of times, you see in business so many rags to riches stories. Like, I mean, you can even look at Elon Musk. Like, the dude was abused as a kid, and now he's freaking sending rockets to Mars. Now everything that he's doing, and it's like, how can you not want to help others who came from nothing when you transcended that? If that makes sense.
It does make sense, but a lot of people have a hard time, like, understanding how to apply that concept. That's why I like concepts like Ikigai and others, because it makes it more real. Not that that's not real, but it's very hard for somebody to be like, okay, that's great, but what does that actually mean for me right now in my life? And that's where I think that when you go through an exercise of figuring out like what you want to do, what you can monetize, and what the market needs, like that kind of what you want to do ties back to this. It ties back to your mission in life. But there's a lot of things that I'd love to do that are not going to be viable businesses.
Right.
So that's also not serving anyone.
Yeah.
So I think that you also have to marry all these components so that you can have this beautiful vision for how you want to serve the world, and find a way to actually turn it into a business. Because if you don't actually scale that idea, it doesn't have impact.
Yeah.
And I think that the goal is impact.
Scott, do you know what the most valuable piece of real estate is in the world?
What's that?
The graveyard. Think of the billions of dollars of ideas that have just been buried and they've actually never been brought to life. And it's so sad to see people with so much creativity, so much potential, so many ideas, never take action on them. And like you said, poverty loves indecision. So like, I think the best thing anyone can do is just take some sort of action forward, right? Like lean into the discomfort, because once you actually just train your mind and nervous system to get a little more comfortable with the discomfort, then you're going to actually build the courage to just fucking keep going. And
I think that that's important. And you asked me about questions, and like I was telling you that you should focus on, first of all, why are you playing the game that you're playing, and ask yourself questions like that. But it doesn't mean that you sit in this space of no action and just thought forever. Like the goal is to make the distance between the asking the question and the getting the answer and the action as small as possible. So I don't want, ask better questions. I don't need people thinking and overthinking all day. It's not gonna solve anything. You do have to take a massive amount of action. I just want you to be directionally correct when you do take that action. That's the goal.
What's your approach about spirituality infused into business? Like obviously there's so much talk about manifestation and affirmations and visualization.
But I don't think, is that spirituality? I find those to be like almost like mindset.
Yes. I think unconsciously a lot of entrepreneurs already are doing those things, but they're not necessarily doing them from a spiritual lens, if that makes sense. They're not like looking in the mirror and repeating like, I am successful, I am wealthy, like those types of things necessarily, but they might have other practices. Yeah. Like, is there something that has been really valuable in your journey of growth and success?
That's spiritual. I think that, we can talk about spirituality, and I think that spirituality, I think, is important. I think it also creates a great foundation in your home, which again will have an impact on success. When I think about manifesting, law of attraction, and all these other ideas, I think that if you actually look at what they're doing is they're forcing you to focus on the outcome you want. And I do believe that when you focus on the outcome you want, all the micro actions you take in a day are towards that outcome. So I think they have a purpose if they're paired with action. And I think what it helps you do is it helps you program your subconscious. That's why I don't consider them spirituality, because I actually consider thinking about the thing that I want to build to be a very practical strategy. If all I think about is the thing, and all I think about is what I'm going to be building, and the 5-year, the 5-year version of me, and what that person has, and what that person's achieved, all the actions that I'm going to take in a day are in pursuit of that future self. And that's where I actually think those tools are probably incorrectly understood. I think that people think that I can just think all day about the thing that I want to accomplish and it'll happen. That's not the case. If you think about it all day, it'll happen through action.
Yeah.
Programming your subconscious, I think, is very important. Spirituality. So I'm a big believer that if you do not have some version of God in your life, then something else will replace, and you'll have God somewhere else. You'll have God in work. You'll idolize something else, basically. And I don't think that's healthy. So I think what spirituality does is it helps you focus on something outside of yourself and your own ego. I think that's what's important. And I think that if you only believe that you are the most important thing on this earth and there is nothing bigger or better than you, I don't think that's a good place to operate from.
Yeah.
I think that that's a dangerous place to operate from. So I think that when you include God or spirituality or even mindfulness or just understanding that you're part of something bigger, I think you move differently. I think you operate differently. And I think that that's healthy for most people.
Have you ever explored any sort of psychedelic or plant medicine?
No, I haven't, actually. I haven't. For no reason. Just I haven't. I don't know what it would do. I don't know. Listen, you're the expert. I don't know what it does.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be a benefit. I don't know if it helps certain people in certain ways. I think that people take it for different reasons.
Yeah. Has Gina ever done it?
No, she
Really?
hasn't.
Wow.
There's never been a point in my life, because I sort of like brought God and religion into my life and spirituality, if you want to marry these concepts in like a more traditional sense.
Yeah.
I've never felt like I needed like a third party, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Psychedelics being the third party to connect or to overcome a problem. In my mind, and this is, all of our beliefs are based on past experiences, right? Yeah. So in my mind, everything I've accomplished has been when I'm fully present with my thoughts as uncomfortable, like in the most sober and ruthless way possible. And I found that any deviation from that has not been a net positive. So my brain has trained myself. Like, I don't like when I'm tired. I don't like when I drink. I don't like when I like smoke weed. Like, I don't like not being with my thoughts, because when I'm with my thoughts, I figure out solutions. And not to say you can't figure out solutions in a variety of different states. It just never served me.
Yeah.
It's never served me, probably because I've never had like the proper instruction in how to actually use it as a benefit, as opposed to like not using it properly.
Yeah.
But
intention's very important.
Very much so. So my performance as an entrepreneur and as a human being, I just have hard conversations with myself if something isn't working out. And it's like super uncomfortable. But then it like hardens me to the next time I have a difficult thing in my life.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people, they try and escape their own thoughts.
Of course. I mean, that's
I don't think is good.
Yeah, no, I think the number one fear that most humans have is actually being with themselves.
Yeah.
With all of their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions.
So if something could enhance that, I don't mind it. But I think that more often than not, like a third party is used to almost disassociate.
Right.
As opposed to enhance.
Yeah, I think it's like a very, it's a very important conversation. So you've probably seen like a bunch of the successful entrepreneurs who are big advocates for plant medicine and psychedelics.
Of course.
So there's whenever you're a type A personality, you're going to be spending a majority of your life in your head.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right? And that is going to serve you in many ways. It's going to help you birth things into life with business. It's going to give you creative ideas. And oftentimes we become a slave to our own mind, and we have a rigid mindset in terms of like the same things continuing to perpetuate. And oftentimes what psychedelics do with neuroplasticity is they create these new neural connections in the brain. So they give you the opportunity to actually like zoom out and approach things from a different perspective, which can be really valuable.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
And then also, I think in terms of leadership, I think why a lot of like executives and entrepreneurs have seen benefits with psychedelics is there's the creative aspect in terms of obviously you get paid based on the level of problem you solve. So if you can create really powerful solutions to the world's biggest problems, you're going to be massively successful and you're going to create a lot of positive impact in the world. In addition to that, it cultivates an insane level of love and compassion. And a lot of times, especially men, like it's sometimes challenging to get into that frequency. And as a leader, if you can actually access more compassion and more empathy, I think it can be really valuable. Like Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example.
I agree.
Do you follow football, by the way? American football?
A little bit. I'm Canadian.
So
I
you
follow
know
a lot
Aaron
of-
Rodgers.
I know Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
So like, I think he's a
My
perfect...
sport was hockey.
Okay.
When
of
I was
course.
growing up.
To finish the point, I think it's very important because with everything, people are going to abuse it and use it lacking intention.
I agree
And
with
it's
that.
almost like I'm just going to chase this new high, this new download, this new enlightenment.
Yeah.
Because I know people who have done like 67 ayahuasca experiences and they still can't find their fucking keys. Like they still can't even have a difficult conversation. They still don't even take care of their body and their physical health. So it's all about the integration and using things with intention. And they're all just tools. Like
Of course.
yoga.
I mean, I like nootropics.
Exactly.
And now like peptides are very popular too.
Yeah.
I just had a guy on, he spoke to me about like, it's like 20 different peptides. I don't know. I've never even heard of some of them. Like they're like, I don't mind the concept of like enhancing like your cognitive ability to a degree or your perception or your creativity. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people misuse.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know limits. They don't know limits. And I also think that people don't understand why they're doing it.
I think it would be cool. For you to
I'm not
talk to Dustin about his experience. Because Dustin,
Yeah,
like,
I'm not against it. It's just something that like
I see your perspective.
Yeah.
Dustin's about to turn 40.
Dustin's a very similar personality to me, I find. I think he's like type A, like
Yeah, for sure.
I think so. I don't know.
No, for sure, exactly. And like, dude was an absolute amazing athlete growing up, super good grades, like amazing student. Obviously, has his law firm. You know, he didn't do a drug until he was like 36, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's like straight edge. Yeah.
and he's built a lot of his career now around the psychedelic industry because he sees how impactful these medicines can be when used with intention. Now, he doesn't have any like insanely crazy traumas or insecurities or something that he's trying to necessarily heal from. But for him, again, helped him just tap into like almost like a little more softness in some areas, like a little more kindness to himself, which I think is very necessary for a lot of type A people because we're always going to be our harshest critic.
1,000%.
So-
It's tough because I'll tell you, like, from my perspective, my lack of, sometimes my lack of love for myself is my edge,
Yeah.
and that's tough.
Well, it's one of those things too where it's like you can use anger as a fuel to take you to a powerful place. How long do you want to do that? And I'm not saying lack of love is equivalent to anger, but a lot of people who grow up in like a challenging environment, childhood, like they use that chip on their shoulder to really get out of it and to elevate their own life. If you're just like you were saying, it's like that is really valuable at one part of the journey, but like as you progress, it probably doesn't serve you as much.
I agree with that.
Right?
I think that there is value in what you're. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I mean, I think that I'm also a very alpha A type, whatever. Not alpha. That's a horrible. I hate that term.
No, you an alpha dog.
No, I hate that term.
I
A
know,
type
I know.
personality. Alpha's cringe,
yeah.
cringe. It's
Yeah. I think I'm
But-
pretty sure the new generation that's being born right now, by the way, is called like Generation Beta.
Actually,
I swear. I'm pretty sure.
that's so funny.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I think that there is some value to that because I'm very hard on myself. I think that Gina allows me to be a little bit softer on myself, but I'm very hard on myself. And I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah.
I don't know where that, because I didn't have a chip on my shoulder growing up.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot of comparison. I think it's comparing like where I'm at, which, it's always like everyone would look at some of the stuff that I've accomplished, be like, wow, that's awesome. But in my mind, I'm like, this is nothing. Like,
Yeah.
how did a kid who's 25 sell his company for like, X millions, tens of millions of dollars? Like, he's ahead of me.
Yeah.
How does this other guy with a podcast, how does he, have the downloads and the numbers that he has, and I don't have that? Like, I'm very hard on myself.
Yeah.
I don't know. It drives you. And
Those things are there's a certain
this is
level.
normal. This is normal in most people that are trying to get to the top of their
Yeah.
game. You ever heard like Mr. Beast? Whenever you enter, he has no balance.
Yeah.
He has no balance.
Yeah.
He's no chill.
Did
Like,
you listen to the podcast he just did with Steven?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I haven't listened yet.
It's very good.
That's good.
It's very good. They filmed it at like midnight or 1:00 in the morning or something because his flight was delayed. Like he's so obsessed with work.
Yeah.
He's so obsessed. Like, I think that there was Stephen Bartlett posted on LinkedIn. I think it was basically said, you may not know this about my podcast with Mr. Beast, but basically Mr. Beast, he was like delayed multiple times and his flights were moved around, and I thought he was going to cancel because like you're a busy guy, your flights are moved around a lot. Like you can't, I guess, I don't know where they filmed out of, but you can't get here, before 6, 7 o'clock at night, whatever. Like, we'll figure it out in the future. And he's like, no, I'm coming in. I'm landing at like 11 o'clock. Like, let's film at midnight. Like, I promise you, I do this. Let's do it. And they filmed at midnight. They filmed for 2 hours. And then after, he's like, I want to show you something. Where's your closest grocery store to like wherever they filmed? And at like 3 a.m, he took him to the grocery store and he was walking him through the aisles of the candy section, talking about Feastables and talking about like the typography and the ingredients and all the different, everything he wants to do with this brand at 3:30 in the morning. Like, this is insane. This level of commitment is insane. And he's the best in the world at what he does. That's not normal. That's not healthy. I don't think there's a lot of self-love there to be able to do that. Like, you have to be so critical. It's tough because I think that also most people shouldn't look at the Elon Musks and the Mr. Beasts and say that's the version of entrepreneurship that I want.
Yeah.
Because most people don't want that. Most people don't want that. There's a
Yeah,
lot of other
there's-
ways.
Yeah, they're definitely enigmas.
They're enigmas, but they're not. They're enigmas, but yes, but like when you understand their personality, it's not strange that they are where they are.
I think everyone who reaches a certain level of success has to be also fucking weird.
Just if you look at actually like even like people that aren't successful, entrepreneurship in general attracts people that are neurodivergent.
Yeah.
Like over 50%. I have a good friend. He's done research on this, but over 50% of entrepreneurs have some sort of neurodivergent trait. Doesn't all mean like everyone's like on the spectrum.
Does that
but
mean like a little bit autistic, a little bit
of something,
ADHD?
a little bit of something.
Yeah.
A little bit of something.
Yeah.
Like just something not normal is causing you to do this thing. So you can only imagine how neurodivergent billionaires are. Seriously, it's not normal.
And it's
Keep going.
crazy. It's crazy on that topic how our school systems, if there's a child on the autism spectrum or they have ADHD and they struggle to focus, it's like we label that kid disabled. We put them in a separate classroom.
It's a
we
superpower.
feed them a medication. It's absolute bullshit.
Oh, SSRIs and traditional education, bro. You want to go for another 2 hours? Like,
yeah, if you have a child, if you're a parent watching this though, and you have a child who is struggling with ADHD or they're on the autism spectrum, really take a step back and realize that it is a great gift. Like your child is a genius. And unfortunately, the school system and the medical system just wants to medicate those kids.
Also know that if you are trying to build something, you're trying to go against the grain and do something that's never been done, take care of your mental health. Because it's like this perfect storm of difficult life plus chance of neurodivergence plus like ups and downs. And it's like, this is what, like, a friend of a friend, he ran a massive real estate company. And there's been a lot of shakeups in real estate and regulatory concerning real estate very recently. And basically this guy probably pulling in just under $100 million in total annual revenue, like tons of employees. Friday, he fired all his employees. Monday, he killed himself. Like this is when somebody is so involved in their work, and it was because of a regulatory change in the real estate industry, and he was so concerned that without even really thinking through, just like very sad. The point is, I think that again, all these ideas kind of tie together. Where if you don't take care of yourself outside of work, if your identity is too involved in your work and you're so wrapped up into it, and you're also, and for years you haven't taken care of your mental health and you don't have a good support system around you, like bad shit can happen too. So not to say that entrepreneurship leads to bad shit, but understand that you're not your work, you're not your business, and focus on things outside of the next business milestone and enjoy every day and focus on, being the best possible version of you in all areas of your life. And I think that it's going to be, listen, dude, it's hard. It's very hard.
It's tough.
It's very hard. And so if you're going to go on this journey, just don't forget that you have to take care of yourself and love yourself at the same time. And that's why I think a lot of entrepreneurs are depressed. I think one example of suicide, but yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. There's definitely some days where I go through it emotionally and I'm just like so frustrated and exhausted with the business and different problems coming up and different challenges. And I think the biggest driver of the frustration is like, only I know my own potential, and I know how limitless my potential is to create just an abundance of impact in the world. And when I feel like I'm not living up to that potential, that's when I start to really get down on myself. And from the outside perspective, it's like, bro, you're crushing it. Congrats on everything you're doing. And I appreciate all of that. But sometimes like I just get caught up in my own head because I know what's possible. And I don't think really anyone else knows what we're capable of inside.
Except ourselves. But that's why that's the thing too. Like we're always, there's never an end. Because say you accomplished your wildest dreams, there's still no end.
Right.
Say you're the #1 podcast in the world. Then you're going to start playing another game. You're going to start figuring out, okay, so now I have say you're Joe Rogan. You have $100 million deal from Spotify. Well, now you're going to figure, okay, so, where do I invest and what's the next company I can try and build? And then you realize that when you start playing that game, there's someone better at it than you. And you're like, wow, I have $100 million. Like, what is there a chance that like I start to be strategic with my investments and like, can I, become a billionaire if I do this right? And then like you're benchmarking against all the people that are worth billions now. Like there's never an end because you'll always, like, humans are so competitive.
Yeah.
You'll always want to play another game. Even if it's a game that you didn't even think you were going to play when you first started, you're going to start playing that game because that's how humans are, especially people that are entrepreneurs right now. They are so fucking competitive that there is no milestone that you achieve where you will not think, what's the next thing? Zero. There's no end.
Yeah.
No end. There's no end for Elon. If there's no end for the richest man on earth.
He just had his 13th kid, by the way.
I know. With Ashley St. Clair. That conservative Twitter person.
My boy is
I think that was wild.
My boy is Eskimo Bros with Elon now, which is kind of cool. he just found out like last week.
Wait, who's your?
I can maybe share.
Oh,
offline.
don't share. Don't share.
Yeah. Definitely not on the podcast. Definitely not on the podcast. Bro, I really want to acknowledge you, Scott, for just showing up in the way that you do consistently.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah, man. I'm really grateful that we're building a friendship. I'm really happy that you're in Miami.
Yes, I am too.
Yeah, we're going to do some cool shit together, man. And it's really inspiring to just see the way that you approach your craft, approach your relationship, approach all these different facets of life. And
Thanks.
I'm just excited because I know things are just getting started for you. And yeah, bro, is there anything that you feel called to share before we wrap up?
We spoke about a lot of good stuff. I think that I'll just say the last thing that we really just touched on, but I think it's so important. I do not want any of this to dissuade people from, pushing boundaries, going to build something incredible. Like I love entrepreneurship. I love entrepreneurs. I just want you to do it in a way that doesn't ruin the rest of your life. That's the goal. I have, front row seats to people that have achieved the most ridiculous things in the world in the best way possible. And not all of them are happy. And some of them leave like a trail of destruction and sadness behind them. Not all, but some. So I'm just saying, go build, go push yourself, go do the thing you want to do, but do it in a way that serves you. Don't optimize for future goals and sacrifice like current happiness and fulfillment. That's very important.
I would love if you could just leave the audience with one powerful question to ask themselves that they can journal about, that they can meditate on to just cultivate more clarity in their life.
One powerful question. Now there's so much pressure because it has to be a really, it has to be a really good last question. I think that an easy question, I'm going to frame it two ways. First of all, if you're trying to figure something out, in your mind, fast forward to your future self, and what answer would they give you? Assuming that they've achieved all the status and the fame and the success, answer from their perspective. I think that's a very powerful way to frame problems and answers. And the second part of that is always ask that person, would they be proud of how you're doing it? Because the person, yourself in the future, you really do have all the answers. I think about this often. When it comes to problems with my podcast or problems with my business or problems with my relationship, like your future self that's gone through these problems will always have the answer if you spend enough time thinking about what they have to say, but also do it in a way that they'd be proud. I think that always ask questions to your future self because most people know the answer. They're just scared to accept it.
Scared to sit with the truth.
Yeah.
You're the fucking truth, bro. Scott Clary, everybody. We are out. Much love. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Thanks, dude. That was awesome.
Let's go. You did it. You made it to the end of the show. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your support in listening to this podcast. And really, my mission here is to deliver the best conversations, the best people, so you can continue elevating and becoming the best version of yourself. And all that I ask in return is that you actually take action on the things that we talk about in these conversations, whether it's certain habits to implement or certain thought patterns or belief systems that you want to reprogram and remove from your life. I just want to remind you that your life is your gift and you are the creator. You are the main character of your movie. So please take action on these things we discuss. And tag me on social media. Tag me on Instagram in your stories at Jeremy Awakens. Let me know what stood out the most to you. Let me know what were some powerful moments for you from this conversation. And finally, If you haven't already done so, it would mean the world if you left a review for the podcast. Word of mouth is our oxygen. This is what allows us to reach more people and impact more lives. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you next time.